I'm Joyce Hornady. You might say accuracy is my business. I make bullets.
You are listening to the Hornady Podcast.
Thanks for joining us and enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Hornady Podcast. I'm your host, Seth, and today, to my left, Assistant Director of Engineering, Joe Thielen, and across the table, Senior Ballistician, Jayden Quinlan, and Ballistician, Jacob Morrow. Guys, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Appreciate it, Seth.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, and this one, a particularly exciting podcast because, at Hornady, we're known within the industry and the sport of just shooting as a whole. People know Hornady as innovators, and that's something that Joyce Hornady himself prided himself on, but now, removed from the founder of the company 75 years, we are still focused on innovation. And I can comfortably say, without being braggadocious, that there are no other companies in the industry that innovate like we do and spend so much time on thoughtful design of new products, whether that be a bullet, a cartridge, and in this case, a line of ammo. That's something that every year I know people will be texting me before our new product launch, like, hey, what do you got coming out this year? And it's like, you guys can wait 4 more days to the official launch. But so talking new products, we've got a podcast out about all the new products where we just kind of hit the highlights. And we're taking some separate podcasts to take a deep dive into a very specific product. And, the V-Match line of ammunition, it's a brand new line, and it features the all-new VT bullet. So we can't talk about the V-Match line of ammo without first going back a little bit and let's hit some of the wave tops on what went into the VT bullet and what makes it what it is. So you guys take it away. What's the ELD-VT bullet that is featured in our V-Match line?
It's one of our ELD low drag varmint target bullets, just like the
name would say.
Just like the name would say, and it was designed for those purposes. I mean, it's a lighter weight bullet
Per length,
but it's a long, sleek, very aerodynamically efficient projectile, and that gives you flat trajectory. I mean, all the things we talk about: less wind drift, energy on target, given the same muzzle velocity as a lighter weight, shorter bullet fired in the same cartridge. So it's a very efficient projectile that is pretty awesome for hunting and varmint hunting and target shooting.
So from a ballistic standpoint, what went into this thought process of, okay, I want kind of the best of both worlds? How did you make that happen?
Well, if you look at, like drawings in a catalog or just the bullets themselves, you look at traditional varmint bullets and then you look at match bullets. And what is the difference that you see in those two? Shape, for sure, right? Mm-hmm. The traditional varmint bullets are generally shorter ogive, shorter boat tail. If they do have a boat tail, many of them are flat base
bullets,
and they're short bullets. And that's because they're lighter weight. The traditional, I guess, bullet design tact was always to kind of wrap everything up based on the weight. So being that those are lighter weight bullets, the ogives are shorter, and fit is also another consideration there. It has to fit within the cartridge, and a lot of those legacy cartridges require a shorter, stumpier bullet. But if you go back to that and you look at the varmint line and then the match line, the big difference that you see is the shape, and because of that, the bullet length, like you mentioned, Joe. So we kind of just did an unconventional thing, and we're like, well, why can't we have that good shape with these lightweight and velocities that are so efficient in the varmint world and kind of necessary? Put the two together, and that's what you have. And the VT name, it's exactly that. It's essentially a hybrid between a varmint and a target bullet.
Right on. And you can do a lot with those, and we've got that separate podcast for the listener. Go out there and listen to that, where we talk about all of our VT bullets and the weights of each caliber offering, and there's some heavy hitters in there for sure. This bullet being that hybrid, you get that low drag shape, but now you can pick up some speed. Well, you got to have a line of ammo, but initially, when we were doing new product meetings, going through what we're going to have for 2024, these were just component bullets. Mm-hmm. And
start with.
I felt compelled. I don't know how you feel in those product meetings. Like, you can't have a line of bullets that's a brand new line and leave them only as a reloading component.
Yeah, you and I are always in the same camp. Like, you're going to develop this what I'm going to tell you, brand new premier line of projectiles that work really, really well. You have to offer, we should offer them to the consumer as ammo, because as all of us around this table, it's a whole lot nicer just to go get ammo than have to load all of your ammo, especially at the consumption rates of varmint and target shooting. Shoot a lot of rounds.
Yeah, right.
So absolutely.
Well, this isn't divergent, it's related, trust me, to the V-Match line, but one of those reasons that, we became out with a new line of ammo was, okay, we've got these really cool VT bullets. We've got a brand new cartridge in the 22 ARC, and the 62 grain VT bullet in a 22 ARC is coyote medicine.
Yeah, it's something special.
Joe, how long have you been shooting that combination?
Over a year now. We started last fall and then through the wintertime and stuff, and it's fun.
Yeah, and I've been shooting them recently on, prairie dogs, and took some shots at some coyotes and just ringing steel. That's a fun combo because it gets to the target right friggin' now, and it gets there with no recoil whatsoever.
Yeah, it's awesome. But you mentioned early on, and I think it's good to throw it in there, might be a good time, like you're like Hornady innovation, and we are known for innovation, but you have four people sitting there on the table right now that are just guys that like to go use products for various things, whether it's target shooting, hunting and target shooting, match shooting, a lot of hunting, from you. So that's why Jayden was saying we just blended those two. So that's like a lot of our products that way. That's how we
How
we
can
all
I
like
make something good for me?
Yeah, it's very much a passion project for all of us. I mean, all of us
100%.
are so involved in all this stuff. It's it's not just a job for us; it's our hobby too. So we just kind of what would I want, but I know a huge group of people that want that too. So it's like there's kind of that overlap there that we get to play around with, and it works out sometimes, like the VT.
Yeah, like in a crazy scheme to make money, I'm supposed to innovate products to help this company stay successful and drive the industry forward. How can I do that through my personal desires of I want this product? And sometimes it works out. So in those new product meetings, we're going to do the VT bullet. We've tested it. It works. This is something we're going to do. Is it a component bullet? Okay, should we put it in ammo? And then there was discussion. Well, put it in Varmint Express. Varmint Express line features our VMAX bullet, an outstanding bullet. Do you put it in that line? Well, if you put it in that line, do you lose some of the match application for some of these loads? Well, yeah, probably. The consumer might not understand that. And then there was the talk, well, maybe you put it in the black line of ammo, which, the 22 ARC specifically lends itself well to an AR-15. So, the black line kind of makes sense. But then does it lose some of the varmint hunting application? If you're a varmint hunter and you go to the store and you see that, do you really associate that with what you're doing? And ultimately, Jason Hornady, put out the decree. Yeah, all right, you guys are right. If we have this line of bullets that is dual purpose and a complete departure from what we've traditionally done with bullet design, it probably warrants its own line of ammunition. And so come up with the name, the V-Match line really makes sense, and you guys saw the packaging.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I like the packaging.
So we've got an in-house graphic designer, Jake, who does a wonderful job with a lot of stuff, and he's been on staff now for a couple of years, and he's just a really talented guy. Got an eye for the art side of it, but he's also, just like Jacob mentioned, he's a shooter and a hunter himself, and so he gets it. And so you just kind of word vomit some stuff to Jake about, it's match and it's varmint, and I don't know, just come up with some ideas, and there he come up with.
Leave me alone now.
Yeah, and so the packaging. If you didn't listen to this podcast, you didn't follow Hornady, but I got a long-range capable gun, or any gun for that matter, and it's chambered in this. I want to shoot some steel far away, but I'm also a coyote hunter or going prairie dog shooting or whatever, and you go to the store and you see that packaging. It's easy to connect those dots. So, as a marketeer now, I start to look at things through that lens of packaging and consumers, connecting dots of use this for this, and packaging is awesome, but it's really about what's inside the box.
Yeah.
The Hornady Rapid Safe Keypad Vault offers quick, dependable access to your firearm while providing security from unauthorized users. The Rapid Safe Keypad Vault is constructed of a heavy-duty 14-gauge steel housing and thick steel lid for tamper-proof security. The included RFID watch band tag and RFID decal can be selectively programmed to open this safe and any other Rapid Safe you own. The Rapid Safe Keypad Vault from Hornady Security.
So to round out a new line of ammo, you're not going to launch it with a SKU. And the first SKU, undoubtedly, 22 ARC. You have to put the 22 ARC in the V-Match line. So what goes into that ammo? What are we looking at from a muzzle velocity standpoint, and how does this stuff perform?
So we wanted something that is going to be stable temperature-wise, because, I mean, Joe's an avid coyote hunter. He might go out when it's 20 degrees, or he might go out when it's 80 degrees, and he wants to have reliable performance throughout, no matter what the temperature is. So we might have, we'll sacrifice a little bit of velocity, and not much. We're talking 50 to 80 foot per second by not doing a super performance powder and going with something temp stable.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still screaming. It's 62 grain V-Match bullet going at 3,300 feet per second from a 24-inch barrel. Like, this thing is awesome.
That is a hot rod 22 by definition.
Absolutely, yeah. And everything that you might lose a little bit with that, super performance powder, you're gaining it because that bullet is so much more efficient than some of our traditional VMAX bullets, and just, heavier bullets growing slower. It's just it sits right in the middle where it's really, really efficient. And by 500 yards, I ran the numbers a while ago, you've still got way more energy than a 22-250. It actually overtakes a 22-50 after like 250 yards.
Yeah. So
it's incredible.
We've got some numbers and graphs we've put out that you helped us generate, where from a velocity standpoint, after 260 yards, the 22-250 is going slower than the 22 ARC, although it's a heavier bullet. And it's the same trajectory to 500. After 500, the ARC is flatter, significantly less wind drift than our VMAX load with a 55 grain bullet in the 22-250. I mean, it's just a screamer.
Yeah, and that's all wrapped up in something you can put in your AR-15. Like, what more do you want?
Really, not much.
And then I know you guys really delve into accuracy when you were developing that ammo. Like, that was like, I want to say that was kind of king.
Yeah,
like
I think I took 6 different powders and just ran a gauntlet through 3 barrels downstairs in the accuracy lab, doing large sample size testing, figuring out what powder is going to be the absolute best across multiple barrel manufacturers for accuracy.
Awesome. Well, and you hit really, I mean, if you were not a ballistic engineer, but you just had a whiteboard of like, okay, I want to make, I have this cartridge, I want to make it perfect. Well, I need low drag bullet, temperature stable propellant, accuracy, good chamber and throat dimensions. Like, we nailed all of those things with that 22 ARC, specifically the V-Match load with the 62 grain VT. It is just, it's hell on wheels. It's fast, it's flat, it's accurate. It's like a hammer. It's just the perfect blend. And we talked about it in the VT podcast, but we had it at an outdoor riders media event. 62 grain bullet, 20-inch bolt gun, and I think an 18 or 20-inch AR. Targets approaching half a mile in distance, no problem.
Yep.
And
with some wind.
And a 20 plus degree uphill angle.
Yeah.
So that first load in the V-Match line, it's just a sweetheart.
I think that one will be really popular.
Yeah,
I mean, once guys use that in an AR, and it's so easy. If you have a 6 ARC, you have a 22 ARC with an upper change. I mean, literally.
If you already have the mags from 6 ARC, it's just a
it's
barrel.
there.
That's all you need.
So,
Yep. And the 22 ARC, purpose built to give you that 22-250 performance from a gas gun, but equally at home in a bolt gun. I've got one, and that gun usually lives as a 6 ARC, but I think it's going to live as the 22 ARC now, and I might swap barrels a little bit, but the 22 is just so fast, flat, and low recoil. But speaking of 6 ARC, you have the VT line of bullets. You've got a 6mm offering. We don't have a varmint option for the 6 ARC. So what went into the 6 ARC load, and what are we looking at from a performance standpoint?
Yeah, so that one was obviously a big hole in the ARC line. A lot of people complained we didn't have a varmint option. And, there's some losses to be had just throwing a traditional VMAX in there. The bullet's short, it's not as ballistically efficient. And and feeding with, everything's designed around feeding something around a 108 ELD.
Yep.
So, we kind of took that 108 shape and compressed it a little bit to make it still have the same ogive, but The bullet's not sticking down in the case or anything, and it just works out really, really well.
80 grain bullet.
Yep, 80 grain bullet. It's 30-20 is what the box velocity is, 24-inch barrel. So again, just screaming for a little 6 arc.
Yeah, and most people with the 6 arc are used to muzzle velocities between, if you're running an 18-inch gun, 2,500, up to 22, 24-inch guns running maybe 2,750. My PRS gun's running closer to 2,800. Now you've got that same little high-performance cartridge that has grown so rapidly. Now you've got blistering speed.
Yep. Another thing to note that I should have said during the 22 arc is when we did all the powder development for it, we tested shorter barrels as well, because there's some powders that might give you 50 foot per second faster speeds in a 24-inch barrel, but you chop that down to a 16 and it might be the same velocity as that other one that's more temp stable. So that went into the selection process as well, especially the 6 arc, because we wanted to make sure it'd run guns reliably. You cut those barrels back, you might not be able to run as well. So it's just another thing that went into the full encompassing circle of, we want this to be the best we can make it. I think that 80 grain VT, I've got a 16-inch barrel 6 arc myself, and it's like 2780 out of my barrel, which is
a little 16.
Yeah, a little 16. That's awesome for coyotes or whatever you want to shoot. Really.
Yeah. There's a match application there because you're going to lower the recoil. You're not giving up anything from a shape standpoint. Jayden, you mentioned the shape being so important with the VT line. Get the shape drag benefits plus plenty of velocity even from the shorter barrel.
Yeah, and the performance of that 80 grainer is just awesome. Jayden and Miles were shooting radar while I was running the radar software. And how far were we shooting that day?
1250.
1250 with a 6 Creed and a 6 arc with those 80 grainers, and they were ringing it 80% of the time.
Yeah, it was
remarkable.
It felt wrong that the bullet was getting there that fast because we've lived with the heavies up to this point, right? So it's been a 103, a 105, 108 options. And so you kind of get used to what to expect at a certain, yard line as far as like how long is it going to take? How much time do I have to recover from recoil before I can see this? And the first couple it was wrong, right? Like the bullet got there faster than it was supposed to. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a perspective shift.
Yeah, I shouldn't mention this on the podcast, but I'm going to slip some of that ammo in Miles' PRS pack so that he gets down to shooting. He's like, where did that one go? Because we're going to sabotage him.
My goodness. Well, PRS finale coming up.
I know. Yeah. I won't do it at the finale. I'll wait till it's some other little match. But
a little one-day match. Mess with him.
I'm going to mess with Miles.
One thing to note based on that testing, though, when we were shooting at 1250 was I had some reservations about bullet splash. So seeing your impact is really important. And typically when you start stretching the distance out, that 800 plus range, with the lighter weight bullets, you really struggle to see splash, whether that's on a steel plate at a match or whether you miss and being able to see it kick up dirt or whatever it is. And I was very surprised that this thing is much easier to see splash with than I first thought. And I think some of that is due, obviously, to the shape. It's a much longer bullet. It has a lot more surface area than your traditional equivalent grain weight varmint bullet. But it gets there with quite a bit of velocity left. I mean, it's very, very efficient. And so that's helping quite a bit.
And then the bullet is upsetting when it gets there, which helps you just move stuff.
Yeah, whether you hit the plate or the dirt.
Right.
Yes.
It's making things jump.
In gel, these bullets perform almost identically to a VMAX.
Oh, wow.
It's awesome.
Well, and the VMAX really, for Hornady manufacturing, kind of set the standard. I mean, previous to that, you had the Spire Point Super Explosive, the SPSXs, but the VMAX with that polymer tip circa 1994, that really set the benchmark of what a varmint bullet should do every single time you pull the trigger from a terminal performance standpoint.
And that's what we used as the measuring stick, if you will, to make sure that these bullets were designed properly and everything from a terminal standpoint.
Right on.
VMAX, VT, and make sure they look the same.
Yep. And with the 6 arc, you have that 80 grain bullet, and for like PRS gas gun division comes into mind. That's the 6 arc with the 108, fine choice.
Yep.
Can't go wrong with that. It's a good choice. But for the hefty majority of shots, certainly east of us, where you're not kind of in the open Golden West here, where your shots are generally inside of 1,000, almost generally inside of 800. there's some match application with that 80 grain VT bullet in the gas gun division in a 6 arc for sure.
Oh, certainly.
Absolutely.
Because you get a recoil reduction from it as well.
Yeah.
And that makes a big
Yeah,
difference.
that 600 and in is going to be absolutely money with those bullets. Like I had my my 16-inch 6 arc with a thermal on it, and we rang steel all the way to 600, no problem with a thermal, like a two power magnification thermal. It was awesome.
It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And you mentioned thermal for the coyote hunter at night. You're going to pick up that speed. You know, now you're cooking out a little more velocity than you would be with, like, say, a 103 ELDX out of the 6 arc. So that's a great load. Well, shifting gears into overdrive, you have a 6 Creedmoor, and that's one of those things where, okay, yeah, we can do the V-Match line of ammo with the 22 arc and a 6 arc. Well, what about the 6 Creed?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And I fought for it because the short answer was, well, we have the 87 grain VMAX Varmint Express. Cool. That's true. But you have a chamber design to take advantage of some really efficient bullet shapes. So why not include the most efficient bullet offering we have in an absolute hot rod of a cartridge? And that 80 grain VT plugged into a 6 Creed. You guys were shooting that on radar as well?
Yeah. That was bizarre.
That thing's an absolute laser beam. It's incredible.
So the whole time of flight expectation, to hit a target with the arc was one thing, but when we were shooting that 6 Creed at 1250, I would compare it to an expected time of flight of like 600 or 800. Like, wow. I would fire the shot, and usually on a 1,200 yard target, you got some leeway, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't quite take a sip of coffee between it, but
yeah, I'm going to stand up and go get the spotter now. Then
right. It's not that exaggerated, but it was really, really fast when it got there. It was pretty wild. But I do think that bringing the 6 Creed into the conversation brings up an interesting question that some listeners will probably have, where it's kind of the chicken and the egg thing in this conversation of, well, why did these VT bullets just come into the scene now? Because you already had VMAX, right? Well, that's because you now have cartridge and chamber designs, like you mentioned with that 6 Creed. We already had the 87 grain bullet offering. Why do we need anything else? Because that 87 grain bullet is built to work in a bunch of other legacy 22 cal, 6 millimeter options.
In a 9 twist.
Yeah, in those slower twists.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you now have enough cartridges out there that are well supported by firearms manufacturers, that anybody out there, from when I was a kid on the farm, I could have went to the farm and feed store and purchased one of these rifles chambered in one of these modern cartridges. And now you have the bullets to take advantage of those in that varmint and lightweight match realm. Mm-hmm. So another question that might come up, we just talked 6 arc and 6 Creed being able to use that 80 grain VT. Prior to that, we talked 22 arc and 22 250 and comparing those two. And some guys might say, well, why can't I just take that bullet and put it in the 22 250 and then it'll crush the 22 arc because it's way faster? That bullet won't fit. That bullet won't stabilize. So you can't just take this new technology and use it in those legacy cartridges. You essentially have to have one of these modern chamber or a custom built gun.
Yep. Some of those wildcatters love doing that stuff. I mean, absolutely go for it. If you want to do an 8-TIS 22 250 and a long throat, go for it. It'll be awesome.
Might as well make it improved while you're at it. Make it a real.
That's the other reason this ammo line exists. If those cartridges weren't out there, the ARC family, the Creedmoor family, all that stuff wasn't out there, you could get away with making these bullets and they would sell to the handloader, to the wildcatter, to the guy that had the system capable of doing that. But it alienates the guy that doesn't have the time or resources to go put that rifle together.
Or the drive.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh. Yes, we work in this industry, but sometimes it's like, I just need a rifle and a box of ammo. I can build a gun and do all this stuff. I don't want to. I don't have the urge to do that.
Well, and then this time, prefit barrels.
100%.
You don't want to get a barrel chambered by a gunsmith and take a couple months. Get a prefit right off the shelf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Proof Research kind of pioneered that. Maybe not pioneered, but certainly made it mainstream.
Yeah.
And working with a bunch of action manufacturers that make it easy. And then, building the precision bolt action rifles now, almost, in my opinion, it's easier than building an AR-15.
Yeah.
Way less parts to install.
Yeah.
Did you know that Hornady has a full line of reloading tools and equipment? Whether you're brand new to the reloading game or a seasoned veteran, we have tools that will work awesome with your setup. Check out all of Hornady's reloading tools at Hornady.com.
So 6 Creed, 6 Arc, really rounding out that 6mm family in the V-Match line. And the 6 Creed, there's match application there too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for big, long ball targets, it's probably not your best option. But, you know, there's a lot of matches won inside of 800 yards.
Yes.
And this thing's going to lower your recoil. It's going to get to the target wicked fast. You know, might be a good option. Again, I keep mentioning the Southeast, but that's where you see those traditional box ranges that are, you know, your more circus stage stuff where you're not shooting off of, you know, natural obstacles, some of the more man-made prop stuff. Got to keep that recoil down, and this would be a great option for it.
Yeah, these are certainly not replacing the ELD-Match line, like your 108s, your 109s, your 140 ELDs. Like, if you're a dedicated match shooter, you're going to want to shoot those. But
Sure.
if you're a guy that, you know, casual shooter, and you don't want to have to re-zero your gun with different loads, maybe you like shooting coyotes or just varmints on the side, you can take that one box of ammo and you can do both with it.
Yeah, and to be honest, if I was shooting in the gas gun division with a 6 Arc, I'd probably opt for the V-Match over the match with the 108.
Yeah, that might be enough of an overlap that I would.
Yeah.
I'd probably
if
be in that
your
camp.
winds weren't going to be crazy.
Yeah.
You know, if you look
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
forecast coming up for a match and it's going to be a windy SOB, that bullet weight's going to help you.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if the winds are fairly mild, which is typically common in the eastern half of the U.S. compared to the western half of the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So going now to one step higher in the caliber, we've got kind of the founder of the feast, if you will, the 6.5 Creedmoor. And again, we've got a 95 grain bullet option in Varmint Express. If you're going to have this line of ammo, this is the cartridge. I mean, it was kind of second in line behind the 30 TC, but the Creedmoor is ubiquitous. I mean, it's everywhere now. You have that cartridge, you have the twist rate, you have the head height. Put the bullet in there and put it in the line of ammo.
Uncork this baby and
Yeah.
let it,
So,
yeah.
you know, when you look at, say, our Varmint Express line of ammo, which the VMAX bullet historied as just an awesome varmint bullet, and still really good ammo. When you compare the two, the V-Match and our Varmint Express for 6.5 Creedmoor, it's 5 grains of bullet weight. So using the 100 grain VT, the polymer tip weighs 3 grains in a bullet. So it's 5 grains of weight difference. What makes the V-Match line of Creedmoor, 6.5 Creedmoor, different, even though there's only 5 grains of weight?
You have to look at it to tell.
Yep.
And as soon as you look at it, you know. I
Yep.
mean, one of those things is shaped like a race car. The other one's shaped not like a race car. I was going to say, you know, some random vehicle, but
Yeah.
that 95 is built on those legacy needs of, you know, the 90s and the cartridges that were available then. This VT is not. It's modern. It's low drag shape, and you'll notice it when you shoot it for sure.
So you have to have it in the 6.5 Creedmoor. And again, most people shooting a 6.5 competitively are going to opt for the 135, the 140, the 147, something like that. Great bullet options. You want to lower the recoil down, you know, shorter ranges, maybe a one-day match or something. This is a great option. Like you said, you don't have to re-zero your gun. For the coyote hunter, though, if you've got what I'm going to call like a field rifle, moderately heavy, you could shoot a match with it, but not purposely built for matches, or you've got your full-on race gun, you swap ammo, and you're flat as a pancake.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when we start talking these bullet weights in full house cartridges, like the 6 Creedmoor and like the 6.5 Creedmoor, if you put a suppressor on it, when you shoot, it goes wow because it's shooting a laser. It's so fast, so flat, and it makes it fun. And range estimation, running coyotes, whatever it may be, just awesome. And then in that 6.5 world, you have the other founder of the feast, the 6.5 Grendel. And up until this point, the varmint ammo world for Grendel, grossly underserviced. I think there was one SKU, not from us, that even could be considered varmint, right? You did not have a varmint dedicated SKU. You had moderate for caliber bullets. You had 120 grain bullets, 123 grain bullets. For the 6.5 Grendel, that's kind of suffocating it a little bit.
Yes.
That one might be a sleeper.
Yeah, I think, there's a ton of Grendels out there.
There's a ton of Grendels out there. And it improves the performance of that cartridge so drastically that you can't help but notice it on paper or shooting it. Right. So that one's going to be it'll be fun.
Well, I feel like the 6.5 Grendel came on the scene. It had a lot of things going for it. It was, there's a lot right with that. But when you stifle the performance with moderate for weight, for caliber bullets, like 120 grain bullets, and you're doing 2450 at the muzzle, there's a little bit of like ho hum, because when when it came out, it was really cool. Fast forward, now we've got 22 arcs and 6 arcs and 6 Creeds and all these cool laser beam type cartridges that are just really high performance. And that one, with muzzle velocities moderate to low, they're left a little bit to be desired. So now you take advantages of the design attributes that it thoughtfully had, the right head height, the right twist rate, and now you put in a super efficient, sexy bullet that's only 100 grains, and you've got something that for coyotes, for your target
prairie
shooting,
dogs,
prairie dogs,
targets,
Yeah, that one might be the go-to for a lot of people after release.
That's what I think too. I think it's really going to catch on. I'm excited to see that one.
I think it's going to go over well, and I really think the whole line is going to go over well, and I'm really thankful that we didn't. And this is kind of what Hornady does. We might jump to conclusions or jump to assumptions or whatever internally, but those decisions are never made in that emotional state. Those meetings, the new product meetings, sometimes they're once a month, sometimes they're every 2 weeks, sometimes they're once a week as we get closer to having to making decisions. But we separate that timeline out so that we can get an even keel, sleep on it, have some time to incubate that idea, and you end up with, okay, yes, we've got this product, it needs this, whatever. And in this case, it's a new line of ammunition. And I think the whole line is, one, it's well-rounded. I'm sure the family will grow in the coming years, but for the initial launch, I really see it well-rounded and highlighting the VT bullet.
Yeah.
Well, the VT bullet is the foundation of this ammo line, hands down.
I wish I would have had this when I was a kid.
Right.
I would have so much more gas money.
I was just getting ready to say that though, because I've been shooting coyotes with 62s now for a while, and it's awesome. But I can't wait to get it because I really haven't shot, prairie dogs and stuff like that. And I remember growing up, if you put a 75 grain bullet in a 243 compared to my 22 250 55 grain bullet and went and shot prairie dogs, it was a drastic difference on the terminal performance effects, if you will. So can you imagine putting this in 100 or that 6 Creed load with an 80 grain doing that on prairie dogs?
Oh yeah,
it's going to be a hoot.
Yeah.
SnapSafe modular assembly system locks the thick steel exterior together in minutes anywhere in the home. Featuring a pry-resistant 3/16" solid steel door, 8 1-inch chrome steel live locking bolts, digital or mechanical locking options, 9-gauge steel exterior walls, 2300 degree Fahrenheit 1-hour fire shield protection, fully adjustable shelving, and a lifetime warranty. SnapSafe, a modular safe with welded safe security.
Well, I host at least one, sometimes 2 prairie dog events for media, and I usually try to bring people who have never shot prairie dogs. And the rule is there's no laughing. Yeah. So, but I can see, that performance and the shock and awe. And I've noticed the exact same thing. We've got an old Remington 700 heavy barrel, 243 Winchester with an old Leupold Variex 3 fixed 12 power and 75 grain Superformance 243s. That thing, it is fun. It gives you the shock and awe performance. Now, 6 Creedmoor with these 80s.
Oh man,
it's going to be that on anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm sure next year you're probably going to be doing some events and stuff.
I've already started. I've got
feedback. The feedback's going to be fun.
I've already got ammo orders in for SKUs that we haven't ran yet, just to make sure I get them for the summer coming up.
I've lost a lot of coyotes to, say, a traditional. I used to hunt with a 223 a lot, so running a 55 grain V-Max, awesome bullet. But if you really start to try to stretch the legs on that thing,
100%.
It just doesn't have the horsepower and the aerodynamics to retain that velocity well and get that terminal damage you need to anchor a coyote at, hundreds and hundreds of yards.
Yeah. You can't just hit it and kill it later. You need to
I need it dead now.
Yep.
And if I would have had that 62 in, say, a 22 arc, back when I was a kid, there would be a lot more dead coyotes. I mean, I lost a couple because of those limited designs.
That's why I shot a 22-250 in Wyoming growing up. For that exact reason, was a 400-yard dog standing there.
Yep.
You needed that 22-250 to knock him down. They weren't even dead a lot of times with the bullets we had and stuff then, but at least you'd anchor them enough you could go get them.
Yeah.
And the same thing is true the last year with it, because I shot coyotes at night with a thermal with 223. 53 grain Superformance. Awesome. Stuff works great.
It does. That's great.
But
combo.
at night, sometimes you cannot tell how far exactly away they are, and you cannot place the bullet with a thermal as precisely as with a day optic, in the daytime, and you can see, like, hey, I'm going to shoot him right on the shoulder or whatever. You just shoot him at night. Well, anyway, I've lost quite a few coyotes doing. A lot of people have.
Yeah.
But once I started shooting the V-Match, the 62s,
Anchors.
It kills them. It kills them right now. So it's just a neat bullet ammo combination. It's a good one. It's a better mousetrap.
Right, and that's what we're in the business of doing. And like I mentioned, I think this line is going to be successful. I think the bullets are going to be successful on their own. The 22 arc, the Buzz already, that's certainly going to be successful as well. And I'm excited about this one. Anytime you launch a new product that everybody in the building is excited about, you just kind of get the warm and fuzzy. Like,
there's already a dozen guns in the building for 22 arc. There are countless 6 arcs in the building. That I mean, there's a ton of people.
And everybody's got a
Creedmoor
Creedmoor of some variety, 6.5 and 6, and a lot of 6.5 Grendels out there still. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a hit. And it was a fun to be a part of, like you said, these new product meetings and see, the churning wheels of development happen. And now that I'm removed from the actual product development side, I only get to go to those meetings and get little feedbacks of, oh, that's what they're doing, this is what they're seeing, and oh my gosh, that performance is amazing. And hopefully the listener takes away, like we talk about so many times, we're the hobbyist. We do this. I was just at a media event yesterday, and someone was like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't know, you guys did so much of this in and outside of work. And it's like, this is what we do at work. It's what I do when I go home from work. It's what I do when I wake up in the morning. It's what we talk about. Like, this is really our passion in our lives, and that innovation certainly shows through. The passion shows through, and with a line of ammo like this, it's just exciting to see something that we know is going to be successful and that the end user is going to benefit from.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yep. It's always a good sign when somebody from another department or something that but only see every couple weeks kind of randomly strolls into the ballistics lab one day and kind of awkwardly stands there and is like, so you got any of those 80s in the 6R?
Yeah. I don't know how many people has asked me for bullets or cases in the last 2 months. It's like, just wait, I'll get you stuff when you get a barrel, okay? You just hang on.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait. You probably relate to this too. I cannot wait for the feedback from varmint, like coyote hunters, ranchers, whatever, that have livestock and can let us know. Be like, thank you very much, because you made a difference when I can get rid of more coyotes for my ranch or my farm, whatever. I'm really, because that's kind of near and dear to me growing up, what we did. So I'm pretty excited. Excited about that part.
You know how much a 600 or 800 pound calf coming off the prairie is right now?
Yeah.
I rest my case.
Yeah.
So
the cattle prices are up, and coyotes as a whole, whether you're just doing it for conservation, wildlife conservation, or you've got money in the game because you've got a herd of cattle. Sure. Yeah, this is, I feel like, the feedback from the VT bullet line as a whole, plus the 22 arc, is going to be
But
good.
that's for me, we built it for those guys out there that want to take care of their livestock.
Awesome.
I mean, a lot of other things, but
yeah. Well, guys, I'm excited about this. Obviously, I know you guys are too. Did we miss anything? I think as a quick summary, you get the VT bullet, match accurate, held to our match standard, terminal performance to spare for all your varmint hunting needs, a complete redesign of what a varmint bullet truly is. And it actually is a dual purpose bullet for varmint and target shooting. You've got cartridges that we've designed that are got the right twist rate. We got the right head height. Now we got a bullet to service those. Jacob's done a great job in the lab going through in large sample size, finding the exact propellant to give this thing the best all-around performance. Not the best velocity, not just the best accuracy, but the best accuracy, velocity, temperature, stability. Really, really done holistically. And I think, gosh, you can't ask more than that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast. It's an exciting time of year. We got new products It's hunting season. It's getting cold. It
Seth is getting wound up as he's
I
talking
am.
Oh,
about
like
it.
you aren't, Joe. Come on.
I am. We
When
were
you
talking
s-
about it before the podcast. That's
Yeah.
all we talked about for hunting was 10 minutes before we got on here.
Yep. So it's the right time of year. It's an exciting product. I can't wait to get to the trade shows this winter and get some of that initial feedback, and it's going to be great. So anything else around the table?
I think we hit it pretty
Yeah.
good.
Just let us know what you think when you get to shoot some.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. Thanks, guys. Everyone, hopefully you enjoyed this podcast about our new line of V-Match ammunition featuring the ELD-VT bullet. And like Jayden just mentioned, if you have a comment, let us know. Send it in at podcast@hornady.com. We prefer you to drop it in the comments here on YouTube. Reach out to us. Let us know if you're excited about it, what you think about it. And as you get to use them, we want to hear that feedback too. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you on the next one.